Well, hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 96. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. It's a new year, and we've got some new gear, goals, and of course, Spotify drama to go over. So we'll take a look at the instantly retro Sonicware Liven Megasynth, some interesting news about Spotify editorial playlists in the age of AI, and finally, we'll discuss our goals for 2024 as musicians and share all of the responses that we got with your goals on the Discord. Thanks to everyone who's joining us live, and a special thank you to all of our patrons who help support what we do.
Should we go straight into it? Go straight into the news, and we'll have a look at this Sonicware Liven. So, this is the Sonicware Liven. You're getting really excited by these, aren't you?
I like what they're doing. I like the affordability. There's a lot there. That Lo-Fi 12 is like, oh, I want that one bad. Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell us all about the Sonicware Liven Megasynth.
Yeah, so we'll show this quick video that they posted. Like I said, and like we said, they've been putting up a ton of these Liven synths. They're all around $240. And they all kind of have a specific little like function that they do. So this one is called the Mega Synthesis or Megasynth, and they call it a retro game music composer. And they say it's designed to be an all-in-one chiptune system inspired by the Sega Genesis, also known as the Sega Mega Drive from 1988. They say they faithfully recreated the 4-operator FM sound module, the 8-bit PCM sound module, and the SN7-6489 PSG, which stands for Programmable Sound Generator, which was used by the original console. So I'll go over all the features and stuff in a second. Let's just take a watch. Let's take a look at this video, and then we'll talk about it.
Revive the sonic sensation
stuff.
of the golden era. Mega Synthesis.
I love all the references to video games from that era. Yeah, it's awesome. That ad is incredible. I have to give kudos for that ad. It's awesome. Yeah, so real quick, some of the features we're showing, but it's a 6-track sequencer, 10 types of effects, 6 voices with the YM2612 FM synth, 4 voices with the SN7689 or 6489 PSG synth. And then there's the 8-bit PCM sampler that can do 3 voices, 320 FM sounds, 64 drum kits, and there's some sound bass from the composer Yuzo Koshiro. It's coming out, or at least is available for pre-order starting January 11th, 2024. So yeah, it's awesome. I just wanted to share that because it's slow right now. It's January, right? But they came right out the gates with this awesome looking synth, and I was like, "Ooh, there's something we got to talk about." So yeah, and we talked about AudioKit Pro. Our friends over at AudioKit Pro have 2 synths that are similar to this that are on iOS. So there's always that option too if you're looking for something cheaper. I'm totally blanking on the names, but I think one is SNES synth and the other one is Megasynth or something like that. I'll put a link to the videos we did covering them, but yeah, so there's that. But there's always something to be said about hardware. But Ian, like, what do you think about this synth?
I don't know. Apart from laughing and enjoying the nostalgia, because that advert was class. That really took me back. I don't know. I find myself wondering: is there a big market for this, or maybe there doesn't need to be a big market? I mean, let's face it. I like people who make weird stuff anyway. So I think it helps the evolution of all musical products to have some wild and wacky stuff out there that gets a good reception. So I'll always feel kindly disposed for that reason. Chiptune is not something I've ever sort of dipped a toe in, though.
Well, here's your chance.
Yeah.
I will say, I think given the price and how many they've been putting out of these, I think it's filling a niche market, right? Like, I think that's kind of and that's cool. I like that. I like that there's this option. We always talk about how certain companies are the only ones making cool synths in the like affordable market or analog synths or things like that. But Sonicware all these awesome different types of synths. It's not just analog. It's not just this. There's all kinds in the Liven series, and you should definitely Google Sonicware Liven to just check. There's the samplers. There's an 8-bit synth. There's this synth. There's a bunch of different types. So yeah, there's a lot there. I really like that they kind of cover all these different kinds at such an affordable price. Curtis, what's your take?
They really sound like they do the job as well. That they're just not into. I mean, it's pretty spooky.
They're not a knockoff, are they? The sounds are very genuine from what I can see.
Yeah. What's your thinking on this, Curtis?
I like it, and if I had $250 and I was at that stage where I was like, yeah, I'll buy this. I do question the legs on it. You are making chiptune, and that's it, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. I just wonder, when you've made 4 or 5 chiptune tracks, at that point do you go, what do you know what I mean? Like, okay, you can sample it,
resample it. Yeah, you make chiptune and then resample it, make something new.
Get rid of some of that polish, dirty it up a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I would love to have a tinker. I'd love to have a tinker, to use that old expression. There are other things that I have on my watch list which probably would serve me better. But I mean, yeah, it's dope in terms of the sound. Chiptune is a wonderful thing. I do think it's kind of underrated. I think I always loved making a bit of chiptune back in the day. I played it on the little Game Boy, the actual cartridge and stuff like that, and come through. And that was a trip. That was an absolute trip. And I'd love to put some more chiptune in my work. So maybe that would be a way of doing it.
Well, that's something I was going to say is, it might be a chiptune machine, right? But think about just like the drum sounds, just putting those drums into other Dallas gear or your DAW, just to have that kind of like chiptuney vibe to the drums, but you could do something totally different with it, or layer it with other drums so you kind of get that vibe. Or same with the synths, have like a chiptuney sounding lead. I mean, there's a lot there to be more than just a chiptune machine. But yeah, I mean, I think if there was one Liven I would go for, like I said, it'd be the Lo-Fi 12, because I have to for samplers. But this one looks really cool. Smiling Errors asks, what is a chiptune? I'll let Eon Lake take that one.
There we go.
That's like you described when you said about the architecture of it. It's like a 4-operator FM synthesis engine and all of this stuff, and it's all on a chip. So you make all your music for like these old video games and so on. You're limited by what you can produce with this particular chip on the board and the sounds it can make, and they were kind of limited and very distinctive for it.
I mean, if you're into retro games and stuff, if you're into retro games and stuff, like I watch like YouTubers like LGR 8-Bit Guy and stuff, they're always talking about the sound chips that were doing the soundtracks for video games and stuff, and this one is basically emulating the sounds from the Sega Genesis, which like Sonic and stuff like that. So it's that type of vibe. It gives that sound. So for a lot of people that grew up in the 90s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, things like that, it's like instant nostalgia. If you play
Mario
video games
in
and stuff. Just like, exactly. Oh yeah, Ross says, like people who crave the PS1 reverb. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would definitely recommend, if you're not familiar with chiptune. Sorry, I guess we should have specified what chiptune was. I'm of the 90s era, so it's just in my head. So that's our bad. But yeah, chiptune is a big thing for like that nostalgic sound, and it comes and goes. And like Curtis was saying, you could use Game Boys, the old Nintendos, and you could do all these sorts of sounds with the chip that was on that and things like that. So yes, Ross, I know people love that PS1 reverb and all that. Yeah,
do they? Wow.
Yeah.
That's the first
okay. If you grew up with something, of course you're gonna like love it. Just even if it's not good, I'm not saying it isn't good. I'm just saying, like, if you grew up with it, that sound, and it like hits in a different way, right?
Well, I know what you mean. It's just I didn't realize there was a demand for it. But I did find myself wondering. I mean, I've never heard anyone take chiptune sort of sound sources and blend them with any other styles of music. I mean, it could be interesting.
Yeah, one thing I was going to say too, I don't know if you've seen this, but talking about PS1 made me think about N64, because there's people that use, I think it's called the sound fonts from games on the N64, like the Super Mario 64 sound font. And it's like all the different sounds that made up the synth parts and things like that on the soundtrack for that game. And then you can make all these sounds with it and stuff. that's like what I had in my head when I started my last project, the Imagine Landscapes. Like I wanted to make little sound fonts for every song and then make like the image for it and stuff like that. So there's a whole thing with like all these retro vibes that have this nostalgic
sound fonts existed. And when I first started
There you
making
go.
music on my own, they were the thing. You had there wasn't so
Yeah.
much audio. There was loads of those things. You had to just find a good one. They had some
Somebody
good
on
stuff.
YouTube made I think like a couple different remakes of albums, but I think there was a Radiohead in Rainbows with like the Mario 64 sound font. I might be misremembering what song or what album, but like yeah, they use the sound fonts and remake albums with it. It's crazy.
Wow.
We got something from Mike in the chat. Did you see Jason Lim discussion of how they made Nintendo sounds with kilobytes of code? No, but I'm going to have to check that out because this stuff just intrigues me to no end. Like all the way they took these tiny chips that with like even like old computers that had 1 or 2 voices and they'd make full soundtracks for games using, just creatively like, oh, we'll take the synth out here so the drum can hit and then we'll put the synth in this. Like it's crazy the way limitations can cause all these sorts of interesting creations and things like that. And we talk about that all the time with like, oh, this one's only 4 voices, but what can you do with it or this and that? So yeah, sound fonts, chiptune, PS1, we're just going for it. Curtis, you look like you have something you want to say.
I will say, for example, this sampler here, the vocal sample I got in here, it's chocker full of chiptune samples. And you could go and spend $250 on this, or you could go onto the internet and download a chiptune sample pack and do the same thing. Maybe I'm just to play devil's advocate.
Yeah,
because
no, I don't think you're playing devil's advocate. It's the age-old argument of hardware or dedicated hardware or doing things with samples in the box, right? I mean, there's no wrong answer. Well, it's what works best for you. But I mean, I think there's always something to be said about the tactile part of hardware, but also the having cords and cables and analog to digital conversion and this and that, and it's just something special there for me. But I'm not going to spend.
On the third,
I'm not going to buy countless things.
Everything is everything argument.
Yeah,
bit of both.
Yeah,
everything.
There's no wrong answer here. It's just whatever suits you, what you're looking for, what you need. I mean, yeah,
we can make it work. It's definitely a good thing. I think it's still an unplugged notion. Hyperpop is sort of teasing its video game sounds and its stuff. Again, I'm still on that hyperpop trip.
I was going to say, how many episodes of hyperpop? We're already in 2024.
I know.
We even took a week off. You think you'd ingest all the hyperpop you needed, but no.
Not yet.
Never.
Okay.
Still here, yeah.
But it is there. Someone give me something else to listen to, please. That's what. But yeah, it's chiptune needs to. I think a lot more people should be making chiptune. It's good fun.
You got to start, man. You got to be the change you want to see.
Be the change. There's a few chiptune vibes on Marooned actually. So maybe there's a trickle. So we'll see.
Yeah. See, the thing about chiptune is when you heard it back in the day, it was always bone dry, or the effects were part of it and were so grainy that they were part of it. So once you take something that lo-fi and make it hi-fi by running it through some effects and whatnot, it kind of, I don't know, maybe you can distance yourself from the trope and make something else with it. See it in a different way.
Oh, I think, are you muted, Curtis? You might be muted, my friend.
There you go. Never been any good at muting, and suddenly I'm muting and I can't turn it off.
Command D, dude, just mute on Streamlabs.
We keep flitting. It will go. So yeah, we'd like to know what you think. Is this something you would like to buy? Is this something that you would be game to check out? Have you made chiptune? Is there anyone who dedicated makes chiptune? If you know, we'd like to know. So yeah, that's that one. I'd like to make it, before we move on to the next piece, I'd like to make it, oh, that's me. And I looked away and suddenly I'm on the screen.
I got
this
you.
Show is...
I knew you were going to do.
Yeah, you got you. I got you. You got me. This show is brought to us by our patrons, and evermore as we begin this new rotation, this new audit. Thank you. Thank you ever so much for your support. We love you. Thank you ever so much. You let us keep doing what we're doing. We have big plans, which we're going to get to at the end of the show. And it's your support and the community that we're building that allows us to keep doing that. If you listening are not a patron and you figure like you might want to, head over to patreon.com. Our pledges start as little as $2, and for that you get access to the own Discord server, a x.com group in there as well. We do a monthly hangout star stream where we just sit, chew the fat, talk about synthesis, talk about production, and we love it. Going up the tiers, for example, there's more early access content. There's the ability to come on the show, and also as we go down, sample packs next month, which is my responsibility to make the sample pack for February. That's a vocal reminder, so we all know it happens, and so there's nothing that can't happen there. So yeah, exactly, it's done. It's there. It's ingrained. Sample packs for patrons coming in February. So yeah, if that's what you want to do, that'd be awesome. Come say hi, come say hello, come join the burgeoning Discord and do some great things with us.
Yeah, if you want to check it out, head to patreon.com/audionautic, and the link is in the description. It's your support that allows us to do these podcasts every week and continue to build a space on the internet to talk synths, music, marketing, production with fellow like-minded producers and all that. That's been our goal this whole time, and it's really starting to grow in that way. We love just the Discord has just been awesome during the holidays and stuff, and hearing from all of you and just talking and doing different sample things. We've got Maureen's friend he got a drum machine, or not a drum machine, electric drum, and he's just been throwing samples up, and we're all just making things with it and all that. It's crazy. So it's a lot of fun, and it's the patrons that allow us to do all this. So if you get some joy out of all of it, or if you want to check out the Discord, head to the Discord. If you want to help support what we do, Patreon. Real quick before we move to not so great news, but I mean, we know it's coming with Spotify, but quick bit from Smiling Airs in the chat. They say, I've definitely swung between murder and suicide when I heard Nirvana recreated on the SNES chip. Yeah.
That's what he would have wanted, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure that's how he intended it to have been made in the first place, you know. Yeah, who to kill, really? You must have been looking around there.
I couldn't agree more. There's a lo-fi version of All Apologies, and you just think hurt when like lo-fi, the most consumable genre out on streamers right now. He would be turning, you know, he'd be absolutely turning. Wow. Yeah, that's a great comment. That'd be dying. Had to meet them.
A lounge version of No Mistakes and No Surprises. It was just, oh my god, revolting.
It very much is. Let's keep with that vibe, shall we? Let's keep with the revolting
we'll
vibe.
stay in this negative vibe for a little bit, and then we've got better vibes coming at the end. Don't worry.
Exactly. Yeah. This is an interesting one, and we want to flit through this very briefly. And it's less about what's happening with Spotify, and more about we want to lament as we enter a new year. We want to kind of lament on what this means. So this is from Bloomberg. And if I come across to my notes, basically Spotify playlists are heading away from human contact and human kind of playlisting, and they're switching towards AI, and the idea is that they are expanding their ideas. This is in response to TikTok, because TikTok has always been using music promotion using AI algorithmic stuff, and that is expanding. It's burgeoning. TikTok is becoming a bit more of a player, as you might regard that in that way. So now they're going to be having a standardized pitching form, automated submission systems, which emphasizes data over individual curators' taste. I'll say that again because that's the important thing: emphasizing the data and the data part of it over that of the individual creators' tastes. As this has been piloted and as this has been going recently, major labels have reported significant drops in streams from once powerful Spotify playlists, leading music managers to kind of shift away from Spotify playlist notions, and explore other eventualities. Spotify maintains that their editorials Spotify maintained that editorials keep their supremacy, and they're saying that this is a reaction to the increasingly diverse tastes of the consumer. At the end of the day, from what we can see, at the same time, people are reporting that it means there's less clout and there's less prowess on playlisting and on Spotify. So that's what's going on with Spotify. Is that clear? Is there anything that's not clear in that?
No, it's clear. I think it's interesting. And the reason I wanted to talk about this, I know you had to cover it just due to the way life happened. But I think what's interesting is first we had Spotify being like, hey, we're going to take your money if you have under 1,000 streams and just not give it to you. And we'll give it to other people. According to them, they're saying they're not taking the share, right? But they have this new threshold that they introduced. And so that was the start of all these big changes happening to Spotify. And that's really relevant to us as independent musicians, if you're at least putting your music on Spotify. Now we're seeing that it's like, is there even less reason to have your music on Spotify? Because even the coveted editorial playlist is losing relevance. So that's what I really want to talk about here. But besides us talking about like just our takes on Spotify and hearing from the chat, as Eon Lake and Curtis have been smiling on it while I was talking about Spotify. Don't worry, I see everything. I see you. I see you. But
yeah, I'm always happy to talk to Spotify anyway.
I know. I knew this would bring you joy. You know, we had a week off, and I could tell you weren't feeling very good. You needed a pick me up, and so I was like, I got you, Eon. Like, we'll talk about Spotify. But no, I really want to talk about this in that way. Like, one of the biggest reasons to get your music on Spotify, submit to the playlist and stuff is this editorial, because it's good exposure. You'll get a lot of streams, right? First of all, now you're not even gonna get streams if you're not hitting the 1,000 within a year, and even if you get 1,000, but after a year it tails off, like you're not gonna get money again or whatever. So then it really is like, well, the big reason I guess I would still put on Spotify is for these editorials and for this and that. Well, now they're losing relevance, at least according to the article and what is being reported and things like that. So I'm just curious to hear everybody. I mean, I know a lot of our patrons and friends in the chat aren't the biggest Spotify fans, so I know we have a bit of a biased group here, but I do want to hear from everybody what their take is on this. What do you think about Spotify in general with all these changes, but now this report of editorial? But let's start with Eon Lake, because I know he's got a lot to say.
Who knows? I don't actually know how much I've got to say until I open my mouth and start saying it. But you know what?
I got the mute on the ready. No, I'm just kidding.
It makes me wonder is my reaction to this. So I'm a curious sort of a fellow, and you know, this did seem to be, you know, the yardstick that we were all measured with. This, you know, counts on editorial playlists and so on. It was the holy grail for underground artists and so on. And now that's going away. It makes me wonder, what's it being replaced by? Why is it losing relevance? Was it losing relevance to? That's probably, as independent musicians, that's probably a more interesting question to answer than thinking about what the hell's happening with Spotify, because, you know, from a certain point of view, who cares? You know, hopefully they're dying. I don't know. It would be good to know where the interest is moving to. We can see what it's moving away from, you know, but it's more about the future and what's happening and what are these new influences and trends. I'd love to know what Spotify make of it as well. That was the next.
It is interesting. It is interesting because I mean, I think it mentions in the article some of this is due to TikTok. And now TikTok has announced that they're going to start a music streaming platform. It might already be out in some places and things like that.
Out in some places,
but they're doing that. So, and I mean, TikTok is just a behemoth on social media. Like, it's taken the lion's share of that. So now it might even be coming for Spotify, which is interesting in its own right. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, that is a very good question you're asking, because I wanted to talk, like, should we even be on Spotify at this point with like these changes coming? But that's a good question. That's an even better question, as you said, is like, what is being replaced? What is replacing Spotify? Because that is what we want to look at. And it
out, you know, it's a.
It doesn't seem like it's clear though.
No,
it doesn't seem like it's clear. That's the weird part. It's like, the reason Curtis and I brought this to the table is we were lamenting about, like, well, how do we want to do our releases? Do we want to put them on Spotify? Like, I'm not going to do any form of monthly releases anymore. I'm slowing down my releases, focusing more on my YouTube and things like that. But we were like, should we put it on Spotify? Because if you have an album and maybe one song is a single that's going to get picked up by playlists and stuff like that, all those other songs, whatever streams they get that doesn't amount to 1,000 in a year, they've just taken your money, right? You know, and even if it's not a lot of money, it's the principle there that just seems so like, hey, it's the exposure, right? It's that whole live thing again. But but yeah,
But
it's
the
like
answer to that, I think, a lot of these things are changing and things are moving quite fast, but at the same time, we don't want them to move too fast. We don't want, all right, well, this week we're dropping Spotify and we're moving over to something else. And next week we're dropping X and we're going over to Blue Sky. I would rather phase these things out, let them prove their value, and devote, time and attention to them proportionate to the return. And that means sort of fading one out, and it's like a mix, really.
No, you're spot on, Ian. Like, I mean, that's exactly
It's
what
close.
Curtis and I landed on when we were talking for label releases and for our release. We were like, well, like we always say on the show, be everywhere, right? Or as many places as you want to be and can be and things like that. But focus your attention on what's working, and then just have those there so that you can still do what you want with them on these platforms and things, but you're there. If it does grow, awesome, you're there. If it tapers off, like you're saying, on like a fader, like a mixer, you've got these other channels that you can bring up and things like that. Curtis, what about you? What's your take on all this?
So similar to what the chat is saying, to be honest. It seems that they're looking just to streamline their own model, right? And it's not for them. It's not about the music anymore. They need to turn a profit, otherwise they're going to collapse. They won't be here for much longer if they don't turn a profit. And this is how they're going to do it. TikTok has a great algorithm. Love it or hate, love TikTok or hate TikTok. It is the best at kind of just keeping you zoned into that little brick, And I think Spotify are trying to emulate that because that's where the market's going. And does that mean, if we're talking about change and if we're talking about that, does it mean that it's really still a streaming service based on, for the user anymore? Or is it just a place to consume whatever comes down? What I mean by that is, if you look at what they've brought in as well over the last couple of months, they brought in like location services, they brought in tickets, they've brought in that kind of thing. In this interdependent, in this globalized world in which we live, where there are some people in this society who wake up in Milan and then go to bed in, say, Dorchester, for example, because that's what happens sometimes. Like these location services, is that where this is going to go? If everything's algorithmic and everything's kind of going there, is that what this is shifting into? Is that where this is going? Obviously, that is just supposition, but I mean, I just feel like it's no longer the place really to get discovered. And we talked about it for a while. Like it was always the place where, you try before you buy. The idea is that you put your stuff out there and then you find the people who like what you do, and then you bring them over to your Bandcamp, which is where you get their real support. It's that funnel. It's that funnel.
Yeah.
It's a funnel, and that doesn't exist anymore, and that's okay. That's fine, because then we can do other things. We can find another funnel. There's always a funnel to be found. I'm going to try and say the word funnel another couple of times before the end of the month.
Let me get in on the funnel here. One thing I find interesting about TikTok is that it doesn't really work as a funnel. I've seen on certain Reddits and things like that, people saying that TikTok and Spotify has a degree of connection in terms of like, if something does well on TikTok, it will do well on Spotify. I don't really see that anecdotally, but in general, maybe I'm just missing it. I'm not staying with like mainstream stuff. I'm talking more independent, smaller things and stuff like that. Obviously, like, left of not normal, but mainstream music, let's say. But anyways, first of all, TikTok does not like any form of external linking or sending. Like when you can't put links, first of all, but I've seen discussions and analytics and stuff when you put, link to the song in my bio, which they don't even let you do until I think 10,000 followers or 1,000 or something. But links, it's like it will lower your reach because you said link to YouTube. I saw some Instagram posts where someone tried different forms of like link in bio, Bink and Lio and stuff like that, and like only certain ways of trying to trick it worked in terms of like still getting algorithmic reach or whatever. And there's all sorts of issues that could come up with the way they were doing that. But it's just interesting. TikTok doesn't really like that sort of external linking. None of these social medias do, but it seems like they're really hard on that way. And it's just interesting for
Is it?
No, it's just interesting if they're now going to have a music service. I mean, you have some sort of cross connection to promote yourself on there, but it's just very strange because it seems to me like we have, Curtis, you can answer for your TikTok, but for Audionautics TikTok and my Sunwarper TikTok, we get a lot of views and likes, but it doesn't change to followers that much. And it seems to be a trend on TikTok that followers don't matter because it's all about just this doom scrolling, right? So you watch it, you hit like, and then you forget it for eternity, right? Like it didn't happen or whatever. And so it's like, I don't see TikTok working in the way of like funneling, to bring it back, Curtis, just to make you happy. I don't see it working in that way. So TikTok might be replacing Spotify, but I don't think in terms of relevance for our type of music, independent music, it will work in that way. Is
that the nature of the beast, do you think? Is this what we're looking at, is a fundamental lack of mutual benefit with, you know,
I mean, I think that's Web 2.0
platforms, because their remit is to keep you there, not to let it sprawl and go to other places and so on. And really, we want the opposite of that. We want something that links everywhere. You know, it's like a big web. You know, like an internet of.
Wow, internet. That's crazy. But no, I mean, I think that's the thing. Like Web 2.0, social media 3.0, probably even. It's all about
like a contraction, isn't
it?
Yeah,
like exactly. We went from these forums and things like that. We went from forums and smaller things where it was these niche communities to these. Everything is on Facebook. Everything is on TikTok. Like, you know, compartmentalize everything to these small, big, not small, to these few big players or whatever. And yeah, it doesn't work well for music discovery. I think if you have something in the current zeitgeist, you know, like we always bring up Taylor Swift or something, if you're seeing that everywhere and hearing it in movies and this and that, then when you see it in a song or something, of course, we go, oh yeah, or when you see it in a TikTok, I mean, you go, oh yeah, I'll go to Spotify and stream it or whatever. But was it the TikTok that took you there, or was it seeing it on billboards and this and that? Like, I don't think it's the TikTok. It's that it's being mentioned everywhere. But I think that's the beauty of things like Discord and subreddits and things like that, is you can still have a semblance of these small communities again. I mean, that's what we love about the Audionautic Discord, is that we can share our music, we can get feedback, we can all send samples to each other and mess around with things or work on collabs with each other. I need to get to the comments because there's a lot, and some are going to be probably out of time, so they won't make sense given lack of context. But Eon Lake or Curtis, we'll start with Eon Lake. Do you have anything you want to add before we get to the comments?
Well, I was just going to say, to bring it back to Spotify, if they're going to consign themselves to just where the only benefit of you putting your music on there is exposure, you know, it's almost like the playing live thing, going, oh, well, you know, we're not going to pay you. It's exposure, isn't it? It's great for you, isn't it? It's like, well, maybe I don't need any, you know, and exposure, like you're saying with TikTok, if it's not the right exposure, if it doesn't do what you wanted to, i.e. channel people to you, then it's worthless, and they've pretty much made themselves irrelevant, and bye-bye. And the other thing, just lastly, that it made me wonder is, with AI being introduced to every little facet, you know, and we remove ourselves from the equation and AI does that now, you know, what's going to be left? What are we going to do? Well, I mean, people think about this from employment terms, but I'm just thinking about, you know, surely the fun in life is actually making the music. If we're going to have AI made music and AI curated music, it's like art was always the expression of the human condition. You know, if we're not doing it, what do we get to do? All the stupid jobs? I don't think so.
Well, it's interesting too, because it's interesting too, though. Curtis, we'll get to you in a second. I'm sorry, but Eon, like, just such a fountain of wisdom, right? But it's interesting too, because just with AI curation, I mean, it's not going to have the nuance of a human choosing, oh, this can work with this, you know, and stuff. And I mean, Curtis and I both use AI a lot for a lot of things. I'm not trying to be hypocritical or anything, but from the experience of using AI, from what I've done with it and stuff, it's like, it's going to lack that, like, if you're looking for IDM or something, you know, it's going to just choose the big standards instead of like taking into account, oh, well, yeah, this offshoot created this, and these artists were then inspired by this, and like all of this. Like, it could maybe do that depending on how it's programmed and stuff, but it all comes down to programming. But a human has that ability to kind of go beyond programming, to be like, well, I know it's a different sound, but I see how it worked and I can put it, and it just like growth and things like that. Okay, Curtis, let's get to you, and then we'll get to the chat, and then we'll move on to goals.
Well, it's maybe best do the comments first, because I've got a lot of comments. I've got something to say based on what the comments are saying. So do that first.
Okay. All right. So just pause me when you have something to interject. I'm going to. I think I got to everybody, or I think I'm going to get to everybody. But just tell me if I didn't see your comment. Let me know. But good old Lars, it's rather fun
Yay.
to shit on Spotify with you. Yes.
Come on
Bendu
in.
said data is better than taste. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's in terms of
Num, num.
selling to advertisers, I suppose so. But yeah, rather dystopic, isn't it? Eon Lake is in the chat, isn't it? Yeah. uh, Curtis says data is the only barometer for goodness. Yeah, you guys are just all over the place today, huh? Bendy says, but you can fake data and you can't fake taste. That's deep, but true. Ross says they were playing gatekeepers. I mean, they still seem to be. Now they're going to be like, oh, you don't even meet our decree of stream numbers, so we're just not going to pay you. But thanks for paying a distributor to put your music on here and sending people to our platform so that we can get ad revenue from it. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, like, come on, guys. Let's see. Smiling Air says, cross all my fingers. That's probably in reference to Spotify closing or something.
I said something about them dying.
There you go. Yeah, you can always count on Eon Lake for hoping that. That's cheery. Good job, Eon Lake. Bendu asks, are people using TikTok to find new music? Honest question. I don't have an account. It seems like it from what I mean. It doesn't seem
the other
like
way around. It's like music finding people. You know, certain things go viral, and there's a lot of music company interest in trying to find out what's going to go viral next because it makes a lot of money. But it's not so much people seeking out music. It's more, you know, music happens and some of it just sort of gets lodged in everybody's heads and becomes a meme, and it makes a load of money. But it's not really about music necessarily.
Well, that's
true.
That's
it's
the
virality.
I think that is virality. I think that's what it's not about the music anymore. And again, Survey Channel said it a few weeks ago. It's not about the music anymore. It's about what you can get from playing those viral hits. So there was a study that showed that especially Gen Z and Gen Alpha in particular, a lot of them couldn't identify a song, but if you played them the 20-second clip that they were on TikTok, they knew what song it was. So they've listened to this 20-second clip, but they haven't listened to the rest of the song. So it's just about that clip, because that clip gets recycled, it gets played over and over and over and over, and that's what makes people money. That what's that? The XX, they've got that one of those songs, and it's played on a lot of these kind of like mental health, self-care people, you know. And it's just one song. It's just the same 20-second clip, and it's over and over and over again. So you generate those, you find those, and then you use them to sell your products on social media. And yeah, that's kind of where that's going now. That's how the way I see it.
I mean, if you're getting royalties in terms of, let's talk as a music professional, that's great. You're going to make money, but is it a replacement in terms of streaming or Bandcamp? No. I mean, then you're relying on trying to make something viral. I mean, it just depends on what you're trying to do. I always try to see all the sides, but it's not art now. Now you're strategically trying to make virality, which is strange. But there's also the whole thing too of a couple of years ago, there was at least one instance, but a few instances where TikTok famous, I guess, celebrities, whatever you want to call it, had like meet and greets or shows or something and sold like nothing. Like no physical people came. So it's like you might have millions of viewers or something, but it doesn't necessarily translate. I'll try to find that. It was one or two people, but yeah, it like didn't translate into actual, you know, like
sign of the times.
People in reality or whatever. It's crazy. I mean, it's just insane to think about this. Like if you're going for TikTok, yeah, you're going for virality, but it doesn't do anything in the end. Like you're saying, first of all, the songs aren't your songs. It's your song, but it's not your video causing the viral thing. It's like people making stuff with your little segment. The other thing too was it's just like, I'm totally blanking on what I had something in my mind that I wanted to say, and now I'm totally blanking. Ian, like, carry on. You had something to say, and then I'll get back to it.
I was just thinking that this best sounds like yet another side hustle. I mean, is that something that
sounds like Threads now?
Musicians need, you know, got another job for you to do. You might, you know, have a 20-second clip that goes viral and probably earns you a ton of money, you know. But if you want to entertain that kind of work, you know, I mean, it's a little bit like doing sync in theory, you know, at a very high level. But I don't know. Depends if you want to go there. I mean, some people are happy to do, right, I'm going to do some real absolute sold my soul commercial absolute trash in order to try and pay for what I really want to do.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I do find myself thinking, do we need yet another side hustle that, may be useful, maybe not? I don't know.
No,
We've
I
got
do
a lot.
remember what I was gonna say. Curtis,
Go for it.
Go
can I just add it real quick before I forget it again into the ether?
Oh,
I was on some subreddit for like music business. It might have been music business, music marketing. I can't remember, but someone was asking about like what to do with no budget. And people were saying, "Oh, make TikToks because if you get a viral video, it's gonna grow and stuff." But it's like, is it the song then that's what people are listening to, or is it because you did something trendy, you followed a
Mm.
trend to make the video, and you put your song on it? That's
Mm.
not the song that's right, that's making it
Yeah.
viral. That's like the thing. Or you did something unique, like there's people that just stand in front of the screen and put text as the song plays or anything like that. I'm not trashing it. If it works, it works. But it's just I just wanted to bring it up as like what then is causing it to go viral? Like the song,
Yeah.
your art, or is it? I mean, it's still art if you're creating a video, in some sense you're a video
Yeah,
artist
but
or
if
whatever
you've
have
got
you. But
attention farming at any cost, the attention that you get might not be what you intended, and they might not be paying attention to what you wanted them to.
Yeah. I think it gives us. I think it gives us an opportunity with everything. It gives us an opportunity to once again reflect sincerely on what kind of artist and musician we want to be, what we want to stand for, and where we want to go with what we want to do. Like there have been small changes, and there's been ebbs and flows and peaks and troughs of the music business in the last, say, 10 years or so. But this feels like a bit of a shift. This feels like a bit of a kind of now we're redressing. Everything's kind of coming down to a level playing field. Now the game is open again. Who's going to do what? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? What kind of person do you want to be, and what content do you want to make, and what do you want to put out into the interwebs? It's a really nice opportunity to have that conversation with yourself and work out where it's going to be, I think. And that's exciting. I think that's really exciting in that regard.
yeah, lastly too, it's the 1,000 true fans, right? You don't need viral videos that are then
No.
forgotten. If you can get people that stick with you and
Yeah.
and want to be there for you as an artist, not as something trending because you did X, Y, or Z, but they're there because the music you make speaks to their soul, or they're there because they enjoy the way you show your production style or process or anything like that. It's like you don't need the viral content. You need people that stick with you and support you and want to be there for you. Like that's what matters. That's why when we get to goals, I'm going to talk about I'm not focusing on social media whatsoever. I mean, if you call YouTube social media, maybe, but that's not how I approach YouTube, right? It's the community, like building community around your art, your music, your, like fans, friends, all that. That's what matters, doing live performances, things like that. So yeah, there are a couple more chats. We've got a few more. So let me get to those. We'll get to the patrons first. So Lars says TikTok is mostly storytime BS. Yeah. Well, that's what I was talking about. Like there's people who got their songs trending because they just stood there in front of the camera with like the story going or things like that. Like, I mean, no hate. If it works, it works. But yeah, it's like,
Seems to really date the music that's featured as well.
Good point. Good point. Good point. Bendu says, I remember some videos of a young kid talking about, is it Audtecker? I listened to him. I just never care to pronounce it. Audtecker, however you want to say it.
Audtecker, but I don't really know, if I'm honest.
Well, however you read it, go for it. That was fun, but he didn't have enough stuff to tempt me into signing up. Ross has an interesting one. I suspect AI algorithms might be less offensive than businesses building up around their access that they then guard. Yeah. And the other thing too is if people on Spotify, like we have a playlist, I mean, we're still figuring out how we want to go about with it now that it's at like 500 something followers, but we're like, do we want to keep using Spotify? Anyways, we're thinking about title, all that, but it's like if they are, I think it was Ross that said it earlier, they're acting as the gatekeepers, right? But if you have people making playlists that could then funnel to other sites, right? Because they could say, oh, check out our YouTube or check out our artists here or something. If you have an AI doing it, that's keeping them on Spotify editorials that isn't doing go to this site, do this, or go here, or listen to these songs, right? It's the songs they want to be put on it. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's crazy. Smiling Errors, I don't know the context for this. I know it's been a minute since we did. He says, they say that warms my heart. And then another one says, hopefully that will force the music sites that pay artists to grow. I mean,
we're talking about Spotify losing relevance potentially there, and maybe just being the best, a bit of a funnel.
Thank you, Ian. Like, I'm glad you're keeping, because I'm trying to
I remember reading
the stream. So I appreciate that. You're giving us the context. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, to this one, hopefully that will force the music sites that pay artists to grow. It's like, it's hard. I hate to say it, but it seems like, general population doesn't necessarily care what's going to get artists the most royalties, right? They just want whatever's easiest or what they've been using. Like, it's hard for people to leave Spotify if their 10 years worth of playlists are on Spotify. What is it, inertia or whatever, like it's tough. So I think the best we can do as artists, and chat, you can add on, correct me, courtesy on, like, of course you can too, but I think the best we can do is inform, let your fans, your followers know, first of all, that this is happening. And also, like, I'm not linking Spotify anymore. I released a song right at the end of December. I've got an album out in January. I'm not doing the Spotify linking. I'm putting it in the link tree. I'm putting it in, the, what's that, that one, Song Whip or whatever that Ian Lake always uses. Like, it's there, but I'm sending, like, when I promote it, it's Bandcamp, Apple Music, YouTube, Tidal, and that, because if Spotify doesn't want to help, like, doesn't want to give what I'm owed, I'm not going to help them get the money from my work, like, to just exploit me. So it's there if people want to listen to it, because I know there's a lot of people on Spotify. I don't want to neglect them, but on the other hand, you'll have to find it, because Spotify isn't doing their part for artists. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, or if you think differently, I'd love to hear it. And courtesy on, like, if you think differently. Let me just finish the chats, because we're almost through it. This is a good one from Lars. Nobody cares about the music on TikTok. And Bendu says this. Bendu also says, does it follow that people who use TikTok don't care about music? That's a tougher one.
Well, that's what I thought as well, though. I did want, I mean, maybe it's just the wrong people. Looking for people over there.
I think that's a very generalized assumption, to just be like, everyone on TikTok is not, because you have smaller groups, like I think Lars said in the chat earlier. I don't know if I posted it, sorry Lars, or someone, but that they found modular people on there. There's smaller groups that are just doing their thing, and
maybe those people get their music somewhere else, and they're actually there for some other reason.
Right, but okay, maybe I'm reading this wrong, but people who use TikTok, not people who use TikTok for music. I'm reading as just general person. Bendu, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm just seeing that as anybody using, like, I use TikTok. I mean, I'm not using it for music discovery, but I care about music. So I don't know, just interesting. And Lars says, I think they just listen to whatever is popular. Yeah, I mean, if we're talking general TikTok, maybe that is both what Bendu and Lars are saying are probably true, but I'm just saying, I mean, I wouldn't just lump every user of TikTok. Say again, Ian, like?
You'll get corners of it that are music orientated that will draw people to it, but yeah, I think maybe it's just the people who only have a passing interest in music and just what's popular. Maybe
I will say it is
elsewhere to dig.
It seems like TikTok, like, if you're using TikTok, this is generalized too, but it's like you're there because it's got a large net of views and exposure and reach. The algorithm has good reach and stuff. So maybe you're not there to discover music, because you're just trying to either use it for people to discover your music or build this or that. It's interesting. I mean, I post to TikTok because I just, like, I have the shorts from YouTube. So I'm just like, well, might as well throw it on there just to see what happens as an experiment. Like, is it bringing people to YouTube? Is it bringing people to Spotify? I would say no. There's not really much way to know, but I mean, I'll get views, but very few comments and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. In terms of, like, community, I think Threads, Blue Sky, even Instagram to a degree, like, you get more interaction on posts compared to TikTok, which, just like I was saying, just seems like someone's just scrolling and hits like because they enjoyed it, but that's it. And then it just moves on. Like, nothing changes in it. Curtis, anything else?
I would be curious to see and document what people kind of how this changes people's releasing style. One thing that sprung to mind while you were talking is people on, say, TikTok, for example, they're a big fan of sped up songs and slowed down songs. So you've got a single, and obviously to create more content, you speed it up and you shut it down as well. I'd be curious to see what would happen if you put a song up there and then you sped it up and you slowed it down. Now it'd be a bit different with an instrumental track, so it'd be a bit difficult, a bit different. But I would be curious to see what if that creates any difference in how people view it. If we're talking about the viewership and talking about how people consume the music on TikTok and obviously by Spotify by extension now, if it is that virality, if it is that notion, is the same song but at, say, half the BPM or twice the BPM, is that going to make any difference to people's listening? That's what I would like to kind of look at.
You got to try it. You got to try it.
I think I will. We've got pull stretch. And
that's the next experiment. Yeah. That's the next experiment. One last chat before we move on. Lars says, I remember that one Billie Eilish song blew up on TikTok, but now nobody even remembers the guy who made it. I mean, I don't even think I heard of that. So I'm not familiar with it. But yeah, I mean, that's just further proof of it. Definitely that it's just, it seems like it's just quick consumption and forget, you know, like just, yeah. I hate to use the term mindless, but it's just in that term of the usage of it is like, yeah, it's just, oh, okay, cool, move on. Okay, cool, move on. You know, swipe up or whatever. Yeah,
I think it has the ability to open one's eyes to something intrinsic. Like Billie Eilish's album, her debut album was pretty dope. Her and her brother recording it, and then they recorded it in their bedroom and stuff like that. And that album is really, really good, and it showed for the first time that you could do this and go mainstream, but there's no legs with it. Billie Eilish is still around and she's still doing her thing, and Phineas is still doing his thing, but they're not in the eye anymore. So like there is that, it's almost that virality of celebrityism as well in that regard. It's not, it comes back to it. It's just not going to create long-term growth. And as independent musicians, you need to have long-term growth. You need to, it's more important now than ever to find those 1,000 true fans and dedicate that and let those seedlings grow into something. You're not going to do that through TikTok and Spotify anymore. It's Bandcamp. It's still Bandcamp. And for the moment, until anything else changes with Bandcamp, it's still Bandcamp. And it's the only way you can send people, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. Really quick. Lars was saying the song was called Billie Eilish. He did say in the thing that the guy who made it. So yeah. But
my apologies.
Lars says, I got to share this one before we move on. Lars says, if you hate yourself, you can check it out. So Chris, go for it, man. Just go check it out.
Yeah, man. My self-worth is through the toilet. Let's check this out. Let's go.
All right. Before we move to the final section, just a quick PSA talking about social media and things like that. There are new social medias out. As you know, if you're a follower of the channel, we're always experimenting with them and things like that. So we are on Threads as Audionautic. I believe Curtis is on there as Curtis. I'm on there as Sunwarper. Jan Lake, are you on Threads?
I'm not, no.
Okay. Well, there you go. There's a little QR code on the screen here. If you want to check it out, you can check it. But it's just at Audionautic. And then lastly, we are also on, if I can share this quickly, Blue Sky. Let me see if it shows up. Here we go. Blue Sky. So I've got it named Audionautic Deep Space Network at the moment. First, I did records because we're a record label. I might just keep it Audionautic, but I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Chat, if you have a preference for what the name should be on there, let us know. Audionautic works great. It was like 10 p.m. and I was about to go to bed and was like, trying to finish. So that's why I went with that. But anyways, yeah.
I'll give that a follow.
There you go. Yeah, it's awesome to connect with you all over there. We're just experimenting. We were talking, I think, on the Discord last night with, I think it was Lars and Castles in Space or something, talking about the different way, the different feel of the social media and things like that. But I think it's good to be on these as they start. There seems to be a great community growing around Blue Sky for music, and then Threads. We'll see. Threads has some interesting bits and things like that, but it's got potential. And I think it's got a bigger reach at the moment, but yeah. So we're there. It's at Audionautic on Blue Sky, but the name is Deep Space Network. But it's also at Audionautic, I believe, on Threads, but you can correct me, Curtis, if it's something else on Threads. But yeah, just wanted to give that quick PSA. So if you want to follow to keep up, we'll be posting all kinds of things as we get into what our goals are, because we have some goals for Audionautics. So Curtis, shall we move over to goals? Oh, look at that. He was prepped.
Boom.
He was
straight
prepped.
away. And Steve is coming in for the chat as well, it seems.
Well, let's hear Steve's goals first.
Steve, what do you want? More food. Yeah,
More
always.
food.
It's
Okay.
always the same. It's always the same,
reason.
Steve. Yeah, so this is our goals for 2024. We're looking to create some sort of plan, some sort of loose ideas of what we want to achieve. Nothing set in stone, nothing too, what's that? Not that hustle culture stuff. None of that hustle culture stuff. It's just
speaking of
things
Threads,
to bear
right?
in mind. Yeah, exactly. Just something just to keep us focused throughout the year. We want to know. Let us know what you're doing, what your plans are for 2024. Are you doing anything in particular? In the Discord, we've been having a lively discussion about it all. Everyone's sharing, getting together. You can continue that by going into the Discord. Do you want to start with Audionautic or our personal ones somewhere?
Well, Audionautic is in blue on the docket.
It is in blue.
I think we should start with Audionautic.
Let's go with that.
Royal Blue. Oh, is Eon Lake in the docket? Wow, a new year, new Eon Lake, man. He spent 30 minutes before the show getting his microphone working instead of when we come on and he's like,
exactly.
We're like, we can't hear you. So things are changing. Times are changing.
Yeah, we're getting it.
I'm looking forward to hearing his goals when we get there. It's going to be like getting my microphone working.
Exactly.
Curtis, do you want to start with the Audionautic goals? We can go through a couple each or something if you want.
Yeah, let's start with the big one. I'll take the big one if that's all right. This is really exciting for us.
All right.
We've been gearing up for this for since September, I believe, August, September. We are going to be going for monthly label releases this year. We already have the entire year planned out, and there is room for more. We have releases coming every month. Sorry, we're starting with Sunwarper coming out, and we'll finish with, well, who knows? We'll let you know in that one. I don't know offhand, but that's what we're doing. Monthly label releases.
You were so good until the end.
I just get there, and then I needed to.
You just went right off the cliff. But
exactly,
well, December we're leaving a bit open because December we find as releases go is kind of iffy in terms of like, everybody's busy with the holidays. So we've got a couple ideas for that. We might do a compilation, might do a remix thing. That's what we're thinking. Yeah, something to that degree. Remix album, compilations, something like that. But we've got a record from a different artist every month of 2024. And in some months we have two, a lot of names you'll be familiar with if you're fans of the show. But I could tell you because I've heard a lot of them. It's a lot of talent, and it's humbling to be working with all of them. It's like, oh man, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. It's going to be really cool. So audionauticrecords.bandcamp.com is where you'll find that. And yeah, we're starting with Music for Imagined Landscapes. We're going to have a listening party for that Saturday, January 20th at 11 a.m. Pacific. So it's Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific is when we do this show every time. So if you want to hang out, I'll be scheduling that after the show. So that's the first one. We're doing listening parties for every release we do. And we're also going to be interviewing the artist about a specific topic. So if as we talk about the releases, we've got it all planned. So we're talking about each quarter as it goes. So if you see an artist that you really want to hear something from, go in the Discord and put your questions, because we're going to interview every artist once a month on the not every artist once a month, but each artist that's releasing in the month will be interviewing that month. So if you have information that you want to ask them, we'll be focusing on a specific topic. But if there's questions that are beyond that or whatever, we're happy to include it. Patrons, you'll get the first, not dibs or whatever, but the first, to ask the questions and all that. We'll let you know first what day and all that, as we do with all of our interviews and things. But yeah, what's next, Curtis?
That's the label, and that's where we're going. Over here on this part, the ADSN, the broadcast part, we would like to be able to get to 500 subscribers by the end of the year. That's what we'd like. That's what we're aiming for. It's been a milestone for a while, and now we begin this new orbit. I think that's fairly realistic.
I like 500 orbit.
Yeah, always.
You love
always.
the space. Yeah.
Exactly. Everything is space, bro. So yeah, that's what we want to get to 500 subs. So if you know someone who might vibe with what we do, and we have like-minded people, maybe drop them a link and say, hey, here's 3 dudes and a community that talk about filters and stuff, and it's cool. Maybe do that.
Nothing like filters, right? Automated
It's all about the
filters is
It's all
life.
about the filters.
All
Exactly.
right, lastly,
Exactly.
for Audionautic goals, and I'll let Eon Lake finish the sentence because he can do it much better than I can, but more interviews and gear reviews on the show.
I don't know.
Eon Lake, I have it written on the docket. I thought you had it open.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was something that I said earlier.
You did. I'll
no.
highlight it for you.
There you go.
Hang on.
He's got to scroll down.
All right, we have to give him a chance. So you're gonna have to lead him in again, Sunwhopper. You have to lead
All
him
right,
again.
all right, all right.
Oh, well, I didn't think I was allowed to use language like that.
Well, we're not monetized yet, so who cares?
Like a motherfucker.
Wait. I have to cue you again. Hold on. Hold on. So we did some last year, and I already talked that we're going to do a bit, but we're going to do more interviews and gear reviews. We've done plugins and things. We're hoping to get some hardware, but yeah, more interviews and gear reviews on the show.
Like a motherfucker.
There we go. Yeah. All right. Speaking of Eon Lake, who just got us forever demonetized on YouTube. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. My friend, what are your goals?
My goals. You're going to like this.
Ooh.
I don't have any.
Ah, there we go. More gear.
But there is a rationale here, because I think, and I have thought about it. I'm not 100% sure about a number of things yet, right? I know some of the things that I'm doing next year, and I'm doing them because I want to be doing them. There are some other things that I need to look into, but one of the things that I've noticed recently, and I think you will agree, is that things are changing a bit. And I don't know. I feel that we need to be pretty fluid. You know, if you want to get where you can with what you do, this year more than any other is going to be about adapting to situations changing. And as such, I don't think that there isn't, there's no bad time this year to set a goal, right? It doesn't have to all be front loaded and go, right, I'm going to make a decision here about everything I'm going to do. I'm going to try and sort of chop it up into a lot of small pieces and decide on the fly about where I'm going with certain things, because I don't know, there's a lot of flux at the moment about the way that things are happening. You know, the only things that are set in stone are the things that are set in stone. That being said, there are some trends that I want to follow. But
look at you, TikToker, influenced by TikTok, following trends.
I'm just going to put everything on TikTok. I'm going to shut everything else down, go fully on TikTok, and try and be viral. No, I'm going to play more gigs. That's really where I want to go. I've got my studio beginning to look a lot more like, with the exception of the drum kit that's over there, studios all around here, and my modular behind me on the right here is more sort of like the play trays becoming live staging. So the idea that the music sort of happens, goes through the main computer, and then sort of starts going over there to be performed live in some other form. So there are a few things, but I mean, I said I wanted to do that last year, in the second half of the year, and nothing's changed in that regard. And there are some other things that I want to do more of, remixing again, because I didn't do enough remixes last year, and I want to do more. So
I'll be hitting you up, actually. So there's one right there. If you're game, he's probably going to be like, "No, I can't do it."
No,
sorry.
I love the last one I did. It was one of the easiest things I ever did. It was brilliant.
That was such a cool remix you did, man. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad you like it. But I mean, yeah, I love it. It's easy. All the inspiration's already there. It's like the absolute best of some of the things you can do. A little bit more collaboration. That's already underway as well.
Nice.
But I think, I'm going to be looking for opportunities more than anything else this year, and to do more of the things that I like, and less social media, actually. You were talking about it earlier, and it struck me then that it crystallized the thoughts that I've been having about it. In that social media is kind of like a glimpse, but your YouTube channel where you do all your stuff, and that's where the meat is. That's where it all sort of happens. The social media, they're like windows around the house, but the rest of it, the heart of any house is the kitchen. Some people say, well, that's where it all happens. So yeah, I'm not going to try and sort of make everything appear everywhere. And more visual stuff, experimentation. There's a number of things I'm learning at the moment that I'm trying to fold into what I do. I want to get, expand out from music into something you can see as well. So there are a few things there, but I'm not setting myself cast iron things other than adapt and survive. It's what the human beings are best at. And I think it relates to independent musicians more than anyone.
I was going to say that
new Twitch. I was going to do some new Twitch.
Smiley here says new Twitch. Yeah, I know Twitch has had just a roller coaster the last couple weeks. First they announced
they
these
just got rid of loads of people,
then I think they walked back that. Now they're doing, I think, layoffs, unfortunately, and I think some executives left or something like that. I mean, it's crazy. We can talk about that as it kind of pertains to independent artists next week, because we'll see what else transpires in the next week, because it seems like every other day it's like, oh, now this on Twitch and stuff. And I believe Twitch is owned by Amazon, which is crazy, or partially owned or something. But like, I love how I was like, you have got to be the worst way to start the goals when you're just like, no goals. But then you actually made goals and was like, well, yeah, I have goals, I'm just not setting a deadline. I don't think setting deadlines is great. It's just like,
they're more a starting point,
Yeah, exactly. Like goals should not be. And I think Curtis said this in the Discord, and we'll read everybody's Discords. Massive thanks to everybody. So many people wrote in about all their goals and stuff. It's awesome to hear. But and there's some in the chat which we'll get to after ours. But I think it's good to set a start point, right? Like, hey, this is what I'd like to do. And you can do it at any time. Who cares what day it is? It's an arbitrary date.
Don't wait 12 months to set any more goals.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's an arbitrary date. Like whatever date, just if you got a goal, just do it, like, or start that day. It doesn't matter what day. You don't need January 1st. Who cares? Whatever. But yeah, I think you've got some really good goals, and I liked your analogy with the Windows. I was going to say it's like a video game demo, to get back to the chiptune. I guess that's a little post chiptune, maybe more the PS1, like I think Ross was saying with the reverb. But yeah, it's like you give a little demo, but it's like I'd never noticed much crossover between, you post something on social media. It never seems to transfer to Spotify, to YouTube. Like I can see on YouTube analytics how many came from what website, right? Like Google, Twitter, this and that. And it's like never Instagram. It's never TikTok. Sometimes it's Twitter. Sometimes it's, I don't know if Blue Sky shows up yet, or Threads, but you'll see like external. The biggest one I get it from is Google, because Google has the SEO and stuff like that. But so it's like, what's the point if it's not doing much? So I'm kind of treating social media. I mean, I can get in my goals, but I'm treating social media like just background, like behind the scenes, like, oh, I'm working on this sample pack right now, or I'm doing this or that, like just little things. Or like if I made a jam on the Dallas desk, I'll just like not record the audio, but just with the phone, with the speakers sounding, just like, this is what I'm doing right now. More like if you want added behind the scenes looks at what I'm doing from my YouTube channel, then there you go. The
proper recordings go on Patreon.
Well, channel members, YouTube channel members. Yeah. That's true. Look at you doing my selling for me. Eon likes the best, man. Eon likes
the last got me. Did you see that one? Improvise, adapt.
Well, I think that's a Marine Corps motto. Lars, correct me if I'm wrong, but not the eat breadsticks, not the eat breadsticks part, but the improvise.
Man, we're not animals.
Yeah, eat breadsticks, and that's the way to do it. All right, Curtis, what are your goals?
They're wibbly wobbly, but they're cool in that regard.
Already.
I think I've already planned out kind of my releases, so I'm gonna kind of treat social media in a similar vein to you, as it's going to be there, it's going to be a thing. But you can find me on Bandcamp, and you can find me on ADSN if you want to know what's going down. You can see my ADSN on my live streams, and then that's from that. I've been neglecting the guitar. I think I've been very heavily into synthesis and synthesizers over the last year, and production and DAW stuff, which has been fun because it's opened up the opportunity to do a lot more engineering and external things and commissions and stuff. So I love it, but I miss the guitar, and I'm going to write a guitar-based album, which I haven't done since I was a completely guitar-based album, which I haven't done since I was 16, 15, I think. So that's going to be good. And I want, so with that in mind, I'm going to be trying. My live streams are very much in the DAW, so I've rewired everything here. I want to kind of create more of a doorless thing, more of an audio or analog situation where I'm not spending so much of my time fine tuning things. I need to stop overthinking things, I think. So I'm gonna find doorless as a way to do that, which means eventually there'll be some more. Say it again.
Look at you going dollars. Oh no, Eon, like he doesn't
fun.
like you going dollars.
He doesn't
He's
like
like
me going less.
skewing
Oh.
Ableton. I'm out.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I bought all this. I've got all this. I've got for example, I bought this equipment, right? So I got the launch control and the launch pads, etc. And the idea was to get it integrated with Ableton. He's back. There you go. I'm sorry if I offended you.
I gave him a wave so he'd know. I was like, Eon like just said, skewing Ableton, I'm out, and just dropped.
Yeah, exactly.
Just bounce. He's like, peace out, guys. I'm done.
Who is this muppet? I'm off.
Can't have $2, guys. Get out of here.
No, I will never go fully doorless. I love working in Ableton. I love producing. I love it. It's great. I suppose what I'm trying getting at is coming back to the notion of Ableton as a glorified tape recorder, essentially, and using just audio, using less MIDI, using stuff that isn't going to be fine tuning. I think that's kind of. And I would like to start playing live a few bits and bobs. I don't know how major that is for me this year, but I think I would like to start teasing the idea should it come up. And so this would be a kind of a way to start doing that. I've got most things that I would need in order to get that done. It's just a case of sitting down and practicing. I think dedicated practice, which is something I didn't put on the docket, but dedicated practice.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the Starstream hangout, that you want to do dedicated practice. Yeah. I've been fortunate to have to do that because my son Luca is obsessed when I play piano and guitar. He just like stops crying and just stares. So I'm like, okay, practice time. So have a kid, Curtis. There you go.
Hot house.
Just kidding. You won't have any time.
Yeah, exactly. So that's me. I echo what Eon Lake was saying. If anyone, I would like to do more remixes and collabs. So if anyone is interested, I'm putting it out there now. If anyone would like to have anything remixed or want to work with me, give me a shout because I would love to do some more working with other people. I haven't done that for a while. Sonicwaree and I are sitting on Voyage 2, which we've been starting to talk about. I would love to do some more collabs. I forgot
we had that, and I messaged him. I was like, "Don't we have a whole EP that we like almost finished?" He said, "Yeah,
nearly there.
Like, wasn't that a year ago? Yeah. Okay.
Let me start doing stuff, so yeah, we'll do that. We'll finish that off. But yeah, everyone wants to do a remix or get a remix done or would like to work with me in a collab, I'm here. I am on Threads and Instagram and here. So come and hit me up. What about you, Sonicwaree? What are you doing?
Yes.
So let's see. I think I've said it before, but I want to play at least one, but hopefully 3 live shows, even if it's just like SP, just out, even with just friends or something. I really miss playing live shows, big time. And I intend to do, partly because of the YouTube channel, but monthly sample packs. I'm starting that this Saturday when I'm going to do a live stream, but I'm releasing a chill piano. It's going to be 4 different FM algorithms of piano that I use from my Volca FM through the SP because I use it for a lot of my songs and I get a lot of questions about like the piano that I'm using. So there'll be a sample pack if you want it. The 1 tier of my channel members will get it for free, and then any of the samples that I make in the live stream, everybody that's a channel member will get that. So yeah, that's one of my big goals is to do sample packs because I really like making like loops and one shots, and it's a lot of fun just to have those and build like templates out of it for easy referencing. And then one thing I'm just messing around with, and I've had this idea, and Curtis and I are kind of working on it or have been on and off, but I want to use ChatGPT to design an iOS app because I want to make like some sort of app for music and stuff. And I don't know much about app design, but I've done some coding and things like that. But I was working with ChatGPT and like having it write code and then testing it in is it Xcode or whatever the app one is for, and it's like working. So I'm like, oh, this is a way I want to learn how to do it, obviously, but like use it to kind of like reverse engineer what's going on and just build like super simple, but I just want to do something kind of new. And then thanks to the label and just in general, I want to keep doing more and more mastering for other artists, because it's just so much fun to work with artists and help to really bring their songs to like that final bit, like, you know, get the volume up, but also work with the dynamics, make it sound polished and all that. And just, you know, give artists that objective ear and work together. It's a totally different way of working than like working on songs together. Cause it's like, you're trying to make their vision like come to reality and things. It's a lot of fun. So yeah, I think that's it. And then just keep working on that dollar setup. So yeah.
What do our community, what do they want to do?
Yeah, let me go to the Discord first, and then we'll get to the
While you're doing that, there was something that was tickling my fancy, because one of the things I'm going to do this year is look into synchronization. I've had a lot of low grade issues that I have to work around.
Right.
But one of the things that really,
are you talking dollars wise? Sorry.
Well, both universal. But
Okay.
one of the things that really interests me is having a DAW setup with a laptop with an Ableton, just doing something synchronized to it, but not running it at all, and just acting like another instrument, like a sampler or something, just to be belligerent.
You have a Digitact, right? You have a Digitact, right? Because you can do that.
Yeah. I have a hardware machine run the whole show and everything.
Yeah, there you go.
It's literally just running a DAW just to make I don't know, like a piano sound or something daft.
There you go.
That would be cool.
Synchronizing everything, slaved. Because I mean, you know, you could use it just to launch clips, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You know, in time,
like a backing track.
It doesn't know anything about where you are in a song or anything. It's just time synced.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, one of my goals is at some point to really create like a true hybrid, and I'd probably need Ableton to like have the control or whatever, but to like have it all synchronized and be recording and chopping and looping if I want and all that. It'd be cool. One day when there's a budget that permits it. That's the like end goal, is to go from DAW-less to like this crazy hybrid setup. I had messed with that last year where I had everything kind of MIDI synced together and all that, but I didn't like the routing of it, so I went backwards. Really quick before we get into the Discord, this one was this is funny. Turning your laptop back into MIDI of old, Ross says.
MIDI of old.
Yeah.
I like that.
MIDI of old. That's an album title.
Just because it's there doesn't mean it's running the show. It could just be a sound source.
Yeah, or even just to receive clock and record it, like you always say, on like to have your Ableton work as like a tape recorder, right? Yeah, tape deck. There we go. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to the Discord. So we got a lot. We've got Lars saying that I want to make one album completely outside the box with hardware only, complete a few abandoned projects, and start making cassette releases. Yeah, we know you want to do cassette, Lars.
Yeah.
Brings it up all the time. Maureen's friend says, would like to finish some MF music to release. I want to focus on thoughtful percussion and rhythms, mixing digital and organic drum sounds, and specifically want one of the tracks to include some dynamic vocal chops that are locked into a cadence similar to the Books and Boards of Canada. Yeah, that sounds awesome. And like I said, he's been putting some really cool drum samples up in, I think it's the collabs and contests section of the Discord, but lots of cool stuff. Goods Kitchen says, I'm working on a few projects under various aliases and would like to finish those. Looking to expand myself technically, as well as I'm not afraid of what all the complex but hugely tempting buttons on the synthesizers do. Yeah, it's a lot of fun when you start getting into synthesis. Wow, someone just this live. That's crazy. Was that Eon Lake?
They called you. That's what they do.
That's Curtis. Yeah, they make you never leave the synth.
Yeah.
Bender says, I'm sitting on a mountain of excellent sketches that I seem to be unable to get to the finished track stage. I suspect it's because I have a little backlog of finished tracks that I am being miserly with. My goal is to get those tracks released and to get to work on at least 2 albums worth of tracks I want to finish. That's quite a lot, but I'm looking forward to listening to all of that.
He's sitting on his pot of gold, isn't he?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Need to go.
It
you
sounds
love
like it's
something, set it free.
yeah, just get it out, release it. Smiling Air says, I recently found my musical notebooks from when I was a teenager, books and books of tabs and Korg N364 discs. Going to go through them and pick my favorites and upload the album I never got around to recording in the 90s. That sounds awesome.
Mm.
Really
That's
cool.
dope. Yeah.
Yeah. Hydro Fighter says, I'm looking to simplify, do more with less. I also want to take my time trying to finish projects. I'm ditching deadlines so I don't put pressure on myself. I'm contemplating some hardware, so that could change everything, but that's still up in the air at the moment. I've unplugged from socials a lot lately and feel better because of it. I think I'll continue to do this. So I see a lot of echoing sentiments among the Discord community with like doing hardware, like Lars was saying, which Curtis and I that's the other thing. I want to do an SP and Digitact only album or EP. That's like something I want to work on. So we all kind of have these ideas, and then Hydro Fighter taking a step back from social media. We're all kind of echoing that same sentiment. So it's cool to see that we're all kind of feeling this, and I think it shows what Ian like was saying about there's change in the air, right? Things are kind of shifting and moving around. Hydro Fighter also says, I also want to play with more ideas around instruments being out of phase. Survey Channel says, deep dive on Ableton, play a few more shows with new material and video work. Survey Channel tunes with vocals and a synth-only album. Vocals are a lot of fun. And maybe you and Maureen's friend could do something together with that, talking about vocals. And then lastly, Smiling Air says, I'd like to do some swap collaborations. Any track that's half finished, we send one to each other and give a deadline, say 7 days. No guidelines or restrictions beyond the deadline. What you can give between anything, basically, like no rules, 10, 2 minutes, whatever, and no brief. Lots of us have half finished sketches, and I think this might be an interesting way to get exposed to new sounds, methods, and let go of the perfectionism. That's huge. And I do just want to say, we do have this section because we have talked about this before, where we send things, and like I was saying, Maureen's friend, Curtis, we've all shared samples. There's a contest and collab section. Abby's also got some cool stuff in there, and I made a whole video with samples from this and made some other samples and stuff. So if you're looking to do that sort of thing, post it in there. It's awesome. It's a great place. Yeah. Bendu says some Discord servers on there that I don't recognize. Yeah. Perks of being the Discord runner, I guess, right? Or the co-host, whatever you want to call it.
There we go. It's great to hear what everyone's up to. It really gives an idea of kind of like, and none of us are coming from this space of like what did Lars put it? Like the grinding culture and stuff like that. It's not a case of competition. It's just a
rise and grind, bro.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a way to keep things on track. Just have some sort of sense of progression. As time goes on, we're all going to get a bit down and not feeling the progress. Maybe that's a round robin for another day, but it's good to have these ideas in the long term.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to hear on the Discord, if anybody cares to share, is what are you, and maybe this starts to sound rise and grind, bro, hustle culture, but what is your plan? What are your steps? Whatever you want to call it. What are you planning to do to get these goals accomplished, to achieve these goals? I'm curious to hear, and I don't mean this in like you have to uphold this idea that you set a goal, like you set the goal, if it changes, it changes, like nothing's set in stone. But I'm curious to hear what your plans are to enact these goals that you've said. Yeah. There's a few more in the chat, but Ian Lake, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to say, it's part of success is sometimes admitting when something doesn't work and changing tack, you know. So
true.
Be honest with yourself, you know.
Very
so
true.
To make mistakes is how we learn.
Yeah,
exactly.
Very true. Sure. Okay, in the chat, before we get to a couple of the goals, some viewers have said, I love this one. Lars says, Eon rolls his eyes every time there is a new social network he gets told to sign up for. I wasn't saying you should sign up. If I did, I didn't mean that. I was just asking if you had it. As Lars says, they weren't wrong when people tell you that it's no good. I mean, it's not terrible. I think it's got potential, but it's got a ways to go. Mike says, big goal for 2024, finish, release one of my generative ambient book, The Lazy Producer, and an accompanying album. Bendu says, looking forward to the book. And does December, I think this is for us, does December equal a chiptune remix compilation? Yeah, that's a good idea. We could maybe do that. That's a really good idea. That might happen. That might happen. Yeah. And let's see. I think we've got a couple more. Yeah, Lars says, "Get on your alpha grind set, bro."
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been on Threads too much. I think it's seeping into his brain a little bit. I think
he's
it's seeping
becoming
in there.
one with
Sorry,
the
Lars.
Threads.
Maybe you know, take a step back. Go to Blue Sky for a bit. I'm just kidding, buddy. Yeah, no, like I said, I'd love to hear on Discord just the plan or the ways you intend to carry out your goals, not for like I need to uphold this, but just to hear so we can all kind of see, and like we say, together we grow. So if anybody does get to a point where they're struggling with getting a goal and they still want to achieve it, maybe seeing the ways other people are doing it might be really good. And Lars says, "Please help me."
Blink.
Every time I go on Threads, it's usually just replies of Lars to like random, he's just trolling like random hustle culture, this and that. Like that's all I see. And I'm like, mute. And I'm not muting Lars. I'm just muting like because I follow Lars. Unfortunately, I'm forced to see the massive amounts of trolling. And looks like Lars really does
where they've gone.
16 posts a day, 42 tracks a week, drink 3 bottles of full testosterone per day, and 6 hours in the gym minimum. Dude, those are rookie gym numbers per day.
Yeah.
10 to 16, or get out of here, man. That's why he needs help. He's not getting enough gym hours in.
You're not man enough,
Rookie
bro.
numbers,
not man
bro.
enough. Exactly.
Rookie numbers.
Come on.
There we go. So that brings us to the end of the show. Well, the end of the scheduled show for today. So, gentlemen, Eon Lake, let's start with you. What are you up to this week, bro?
What am I up to this week? I'm putting delay on everything. That's what I'm doing.
You got a new delay pedal, haven't you?
I've got a new delay pedal, and it sounds amazing. And it's part of my push now. I'm telling myself, you're not going to do as much layering now. You're going to go for quality sounds.
Is that the voice in your
sounds to evolve? I don't know why it sounds like that. My inner
I
voice.
think you need some bull testosterone. You need.
I think I need some of that bull testosterone. No, you got to get some quality sounds, bro. Do more with it.
Layers, bro. It's all about the layers.
But yeah. So what I'll do is probably both. You know that as well as I do.
Yeah.
Quality sounds heavily layered. But
of course,
that's what
and if you have any reverb decay that's less than infinite, you're doing it wrong.
See, I've got a Starlight Echo station, and it runs into the night sky, and boom,
and then super massive at the end.
Amazing. We'll probably get another ambient EP out of it.
Put super massive at the end of the chain in the plugins, and you're
good. Because the one thing that I found is that there's still a couple of like digital stock in the box plugins that work better for certain applications where you need precision or thinness, or so there's always going to be a mixture. And I'm still loving the way that if I'm doing something on my laptop, it's mainly in the box, and I do connect it up to hardware and bounce stuff into it, but I like the fact I can just recall everything and carry on with it. Things get finished quicker.
I like that. That's what you need. Sunwolf, what are you up to?
Finishing that Voca sample pack, and then live stream Saturday. I've got a new SP video up next week about how to like different ways to perform on it, talking about taking DAW or DAW-less tracks and like the different ways you can get it into the SP and stuff. That one was fun to film, and I got some really good questions on my YouTube about like subscribers and stuff asking for different things regarding the SP. So it was cool. I like doing that, to have questions that like I need to answer. That's a lot of fun. So yeah, that's
a little bit about live applications when you do that.
Say again, Eon Lake.
Are you thinking a little bit about playing live when you
exactly? Yeah. So I've been doing live sets on YouTube in preparation to just like have those sets. I can just perform them. Like the first one was only 10 or 20 minutes or 15 minutes. This one I think was like 20 or 25. So I'm like slowly increasing the length. And I'm thinking, since I have the external in with the guitar amp, like if I were to play live, I'd bring the guitar too. So I could add like an actual layer of like viewable performance, whatever you want to call it. And then the last thing I'm doing this week is just lots of album promotion stuff. So emailing, blogs, radio, we've got some really cool physical coming, so that's coming, and then getting all the pictures and stuff for that done. So Yeah. It's
Yeah,
nice
it's
to have
gonna be
this
good. I
thing
can't wait
done.
for it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
nice to have this thing just,
I
like,
can feel it
done.
in your bones. Like when I saw you on Monday, we're like, we're done with this now. We can move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I loved every second of it. I just like I don't have to have that pressure of I need to get this thing done by this month and get this mastered and like do this and do that. And yeah, it's been fun to work on the just like end process of it all.
Look at that. It's
What about
crazy.
you, Curtis? What's on the agenda for you? Yeah, of course.
Hey!
I got the
Hey,
littler one. Yeah, it's not the size
Kalimba
that matters;
Bros,
it's
you know.
how you use it.
Exactly. I don't know if I mentioned this already. I've recently rewired my rig so that everything goes through the effects which are hidden behind this table. You can just see that.
You got your pedals out.
Wait, hold
haven't
on.
you?
Wait, lean back again. Let's get this in all its splendor. There we
He's
go.
got his pedals out.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's there.
See?
Yeah. So they're there. So I'm running. I've been finding it really fun running the kalimba through overdrive, delay, and reverb. It's a beautiful, beautiful little thing. So I'm going to be exploring that a little bit more. And I've had some interesting combinations with. Like this is why I kind of get to the daughters thing because I've got the kalimba, I've got the ultranova, and then I've got the sampler. So I've
Ooh,
been
yeah.
kind of looking at ways in which that can work, and it's cool. I mean, making chiptune, so we're good for it. We're good
Is
for
that
it.
your plan to make chiptune with the kalimba?
I don't know. Maybe I'll save that for our December compilation.
There you go. There you go. Kalimba tune.
There's a lot of stuff that there's a lot of old I've recently broken this back out. There's a lot of old samples from back in Vietnam that I forgot existed, and it's like,
Ooh.
I remember that, and that's kind of like
I
Needles
have
is
it?
on here, for example. Can you have it? Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, of course,
Yes.
for sure. Like I've got the entirety of Needles on here, and
Ooh,
like
I love that
there's
song.
there's a live version of Needles on that. I'm come back to it. And I'm like, so this can be played live, and this can be done, and this, that kind of thing. So, yeah, checking that out. That's where I'm at.
Nice. That's exciting, Lars. I think in reference to the kalimba extravaganza, but it says, "Oh my God, what just happened?" We're not just electronic musicians; we have live instruments too. We just sample them into our electronic instruments and then use them.
Exactly.
Let the machines program it.
I like Lars's. Lars has got a load of a stylophone or something similar to that regard. He posted the other day. That looks really dope in that regard. Like just making that completely batshit crazy stuff. That's what we love Lars for. It's great.
It's his threads reprieve. I'm just going to share this one more time because
You can help with a group intervention for Lars on threads. Let us know.
Lars, we love you.
We'll start manning the rotor.
Yeah. But that's the episode. That's everything. We appreciate everyone sharing their goals in the chat and on the Discord. If you're not already on the Discord, the link is in the description. Again, it might be on that weird expiration thing. So if it doesn't work, hit us up. I'm laughing because Lars says you guys are the best. We didn't mean to hurt your feelings. Hopefully we did. We love you, Lars. You're the best.
Yeah,
but you just crack me up with that thread stuff, man. You every time I go on it, I swear it's just like some random thread, and then I see reply, and it's just like Lars.
Lars.
Like, oh, that's why it's Lars. Lars is at it again. Yeah, I love it though. It does get me to crack up. So I appreciate it. Yeah, I get a good laugh from it. So I do appreciate it, Lars. I just had to comment because it's.
I might have to
sign
up, Lars.
Yeah, you might. Honestly, just sign up and follow Lars, and you'll get all the entertainment you need from threads. That's it. You can follow Audionautic if you want, but I would recommend a Lars follow. But yeah, it was great hearing everybody's goals, and I really would like to hear. I'm sure we all would if you have any plans to work on these goals, like what you're planning to do for it and all that. Just post it in that. Like I said, if the Discord isn't working, let us know. Either on the YouTube, you can comment, or anywhere, because I think I found a way to get it to never expire. I gotta just check if it's the right link, but Discord's weird. The cat is ruining making your pedal board better, I should say, not ruining, but changing your settings all for that live. Wait, you're going live today, right? In like an hour?
Yeah, I'm using your sample pack.
That's right. Yeah, I gave him a sneak peek. One of the
files. Dialing into effects for it.
Yeah, he's ready.
Going to see. We've got samples from Maureen's friend. We've got Lemorty Abbey. We've got a beautiful siren, which is why we're on dystopian.
I'm going to listen to that. What they put up there, yeah.
It's heavily dystopian. So yeah, I'll be doing that after this in about an hour. I'll be doing that. But But yeah, the e-piano that you sent me this afternoon has got a lot of potential. I'm looking forward to it.
Dude, I use that now. I won't have to use the stupid keyboard of the Volca because I'll have it as a sample. But I always had to perform on the little that little keyboard. It looks similar to. Let me zoom in again on Curtis, but actually I have one too I can show, but it looks similar because I know yours is plugged in. It looks similar to this keyboard. Let me.
Yeah.
But it's like
yeah.
But it's an actual like musical keyboard, not just a straight line. But oh man, it's hard to play,
aren't they? But it's not really. It's not a performance keyboard. It's a utility keyboard, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it functional, but I made it work. Like one of the songs I did, Soundtrack for a Rainy Day, the live lead is actually me playing it on that, and it took like 5 takes because it's just so hard. Oh yeah, see you have it's like that.
This is the what I say is this is the bass, right? So you've got that keyboard on it, and yes, it's not very functional. It does also have a MIDI in. That's what I use it for. Plug it in. I know. It's a really sweet sound.
But when it comes to an overhead video shot, it looks better playing it on the little Volca than having a keyboard next to it that takes up a bunch of space. I know I sound like a content creator. I know, but honestly, it's a exercise in frustration because you have to really just have patience, learn patience to play that keyboard. But no, I love the sound of it. So now I can just throw it in the samples and in my DAW or in Diggy or SP. And and Smiling Air says, you want samples? Of course. We always want samples.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
We're always on the hunt for samples and making samples and things like that. But yeah. Gentlemen, is there anything
from Unison Audio?
Oh, let's not go there. Let's end on a good note. So, Curtis, anything you want to add before we go?
No, just thank you ever so much for listening and sticking with us for the whole hour and a half today. It's been wonderful. Thank you ever so much. Lovely to hear what you've been up to. And we'll see you next week.
Eon Lake, my friend, anything?
Best wishes to everybody for the year ahead and beyond.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, we were off last week.
Very
appreciate all of you for hanging out with us in the Discord, and we hung out with the patrons and all that on a Starstream. But we took a break off, so we didn't get to say it then. But Happy New Year! I hope this year is amazing for all of you, and we're looking forward to spending it with you. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot planned. We're looking to see you on the Discord. Always great talking with you all. Bendu says, "Been fun." Thanks. Hand pink waving. Yeah, I know. StreamYard still can't do the emojis, but awesome hanging with you, Ben. Lars, we love you, man. He says bye. Yeah, we'll see you over on Threads, my friend. All right, with that, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.